Kalispera. I apologize. I have to speak in English. I wish I could speak Greek as Dr. Pisakas speaks Italian, despite 5 years of ancient Greek at school. So unfortunately, it didn't take me to the appropriate level yet. But I am, keeping still my efforts to try and succeed sooner or later. I will be able to repeat Homer by heart from the beginning to the end. First and foremost, thank you very, very much for having me in this conversation. It's a great honor to be with all of you. And thank you very much to All.Can Greece for the outstanding work that you have been doing in the past years. It is extremely, extremely valuable for the patients, first and foremost, and of course for the healthcare system at large. I would like to give you perhaps a sense of direction of what All.Can has been doing recently. And I think it's very timely also to have this conversation at the end of the year, more or less, because it gives us the opportunity to briefly review what has happened in the course of 2021, and at the same time illustrate the roadmap for the coming year and years, in fact. The first thing which I am very proud of is that in the course of 2021, despite being an organization which I was saying that despite being a fairly small organization and a new organization, it has generated already a lot of activities, a lot of projects, and it is having an impact in the various jurisdictions in which we operate. The rough description of our areas of activity range from evidence generation. I will briefly go into that, and I'm sure you're very familiar with the latest report that relates to the value of data. There is a dimension which has got to do with global networking. In fact, All.Can International has become now a part of several other platforms. One of all, which is certainly well known to everyone, is the UICC in Geneva, which is the Union for International Cancer Control, which is the largest cancer advocacy organization in the world. As far as external engagement is concerned, let alone the fact that we have had the opportunity to organize our own global summit virtually, I'm afraid, earlier this year, but there has been a constant engagement not only with institutions, and I'm thinking about EU institutions in particular. Kathy rightly made reference to several EU initiatives which are also happening now, Beating Cancer Plan, the work that the European Parliament has been doing on cancer. Well, the important news is that All.Can is a stakeholder, is recognized as a respected source of evidence, facts, ideas as well. From an internal perspective, we've also been able to strategize even further, and this is exactly the part that I would like to mention briefly as we proceed in this conversation. However, even before going to 2022, let me emphasize one point. Let me underscore the point that All.Can has become a global community of practice. It's a network which has 19 countries now all over the world. I have just taken some of the examples of the work which is being done from Australia, which has just launched a model for pan-cancer care navigation. And it's a very exciting model that I trust will be shared very shortly with all countries, all interested countries within the network. That's Australia. On the other side of the planet, Argentina has been working on engagement of primary healthcare professionals in order to create a more integrated model for early diagnosis of cancer. South Korea has been engaging also with the government in order to improve and enhance their national cancer plan. And last but not least, Austria is also developing some specific guidelines which have got to do with early diagnosis and early detection of cancer. So that's just a sense of the global network that has been created and which would allow to exchange experiences, exchange information, best practice, in order to be able perhaps to avoid reinventing the wheel to some extent. A similar effort is done through what we call the Efficiency Hub. I am sure you're familiar with the Efficiency Hub. Is currently a sort of database which is available online and which has got approximately 40 cases which are from different parts of the world and which really illustrate best practices in relation to efficiency in cancer care, how to implement interventions that have got measurable impact on health outcomes. The other important part of the work that we do is to continue advocating, of course, the concept of efficiency in cancer care. And efficiency is directly related to improved health outcomes. So it should not be considered as sort of theoretical economic concept, not at all. It has to be very, very tangible, very pragmatically connected with interventions and care activities throughout the pathway, the patient pathway, which can deliver improved outcomes. Also, on this point, I anticipate that we will be running in the course of next year an important new project which aims at defining some standards for measuring efficiency. It's a very complex program, and I think, that's my personal feeling, that it is going to be the first step of a longer journey, because the complexity is very significant. Probably there are also different practices. Well, certainly there are different practices around the world, let alone around Europe, which would need to be converging to some extent in order to deliver standards for measuring efficient cancer care. The first step, the simplest step that we could think of, was to put a number of concepts in a short document, an infographic like the one that you can see on the screen. And we have just now completed, for launch early next year, a more in-depth illustration and analysis of what we mean by efficient cancer care. The other document which has been launched in the course of this year, and I am sure you have already been working on significantly. I have followed, of course, the work that All.Can Greece has been doing lately, but I just wanted to mention how important it is to focus on the value of data in cancer care. Also, in relation to efficient cancer care. I am sure I don't need to, overemphasize it, because we are all very aligned on this goal. What matters here is that we should be moving towards a constantly learning healthcare system. And the system learns by collecting data and using them, analyzing them in the appropriate ways, of course. And that's why we're insisting with government authorities around the world that data collection, use, capturing, analysis in the appropriate way represents an investment for healthcare and represents also an innovative element in the healthcare system. The strategic framework now. Here I will go very quickly because I would like really to go to the ultimate endpoint. The strategic work which has been done in the past 3 months or so, right after summer, was to make sure that as an organization, we have got a very clear strategic framework which starts from a clear mission, vision, and principles. And mission, vision, and principles will not sound new to you, and that's why I'm going to go very fast on this. However, in essence, we aim to improve health outcomes for cancer patients around the world by promoting, advocating, generating evidence-based and measurable improvements in cancer care research, policy, and practice. This is apparently a simple statement or an obvious statement, which is difficult to disagree with. However, be assured that there is no other organization, to my knowledge, which has to date taken the time to capture all these concepts in one single place. And the same goes as we proceed with the vision. The vision is also imagining the patients at the center and imagining that patients are given the best options and the best possibilities and opportunities to address their conditions. What we want to emphasize in practice is that we need to make sure that improvements are based on what matters to people, patients, and society. And the principles, therefore, as a consequence of what we've just seen, is that we should be putting patients first, adopt a whole system, a holistic perspective in the healthcare system in order to eliminate inefficiency, and promote multi-stakeholder collaboration. Working together is the only way to make sure that every perspective, competency, experience, and know-how can contribute to delivering the ultimate results that we want to achieve. Now, as we come to the strategic plan in itself, there are 3 pillars in this case that we have been collectively developing and defining. The first has got to do with advancing thought leadership in cancer care efficiency. The next step after generating ideas, proposals, and evidence is to engage externally. So driving cancer care policy and dialogue with all the relevant stakeholders. And that's also aimed as a final step to have an impact on cancer care control, on cancer care systems, healthcare systems, and pathways at a global and a local level. I was mentioning that All.Can is a network of 19 organizations around the world. All.Can Greece is one of the most active and preeminent around the world. I trust that these concepts and at least these strategic drivers can resonate also with All.Can Greece in order to plan for its own projects. Clearly, there isn't a one-size-fits-all. Every country has got its own priorities, its own elements in the healthcare system that need to be addressed first. And so that is what all national groups of All.Can are elaborating and are working on to in order to prioritize the appropriate projects. The same three goals that you have seen a moment ago actually operate as a wheel. It's a virtuous circle because they are totally interconnected when you look at the specific deliverables that may be generated under each of these goals. So there is a continuum of work in reality, and that makes the strategy more realistic, more concrete, and hopefully more applicable to all the various organizations of All.Can operating around the world. We've even gone a step further in defining the roadmap to 2025, and it goes without saying that it's a bit of it's an exercise which is certainly not a scientific exercise at this point in time, but at least it provides a sense of direction for the work that can be done as a priority at an international level, and hopefully can be connected at the local level as well. So this kind of mapping has been applied to the various areas which we have reviewed a moment ago, from the thought leadership to the external engagement in driving cancer care policy and multi-stakeholder dialogue, improving cancer control systems, and there is also an internal dimension which relates to the sustainability and the growth of All.Can at large. I'm happy to say that this has been a collective work which we have done with all the members around the world, and I think it has generated a meaningful action plan for the future. In closing, I would like also to share with you, and that's really the first time anyone sees these kind of priorities that have been emerging after the exercise. The main programs and projects which I would anticipate in 2022 relate, number one, with the launch of the policy report, which will be called Building Efficiency in Cancer Care. I mentioned it at the very beginning of this discussion, and it will be launched at the European Parliament. Then the other important projects have got to do, number one, with what we call the efficiency metrics research. Again, it's something I mentioned in passing a few minutes ago. Efficiency metrics are going to be elaborated and will form a sort of basis to define also a standard for efficiency analysis and assessment. The efficiency hub is going to continue to expand, but the important work in 2022 will be related to an analysis of the 40 plus case studies we have collected so far, in order to make sure that they can be valuable and can be described, used, and become a valued tool for advocacy also at the national level. Most definitely, we will have another global summit before summer. And last but not least, I would like to bring your attention to EU-funded projects which are in the making. One of them has already been submitted, and All.Can is part of the consortium which has submitted the project, and it has got to do with vulnerable patient populations. The other project, which we are finalizing as we speak, literally, on health literacy for cancer patients, is going to be done in collaboration with ECHO, the European Cancer Organization, and should be submitted by the beginning of the second week of January. So there is intense work which is now being done in order to prepare this proposal for this bid. And I anticipate, that's very important, that All.Can Greece will have to be involved in some, if not all, of the working groups of these EU-funded projects, assuming they will be approved by the European Commission. So with this, I pause. I thank you very much again for your patience and for your invitation, and I hope this was a useful illustration of the work which is taking place at this time. Thank you.